Welcome back to Superbly Said Advanced English Vocabulary and Phrases.
Glad to be back. We've got a lot of ground to cover today.
We really do. And before we dive into the material, I want to quickly mention that our sources today come straight from a SpeakDuo lesson.
Oh, yeah. SpeakDuo is fantastic for this kind of thing.
It totally is. You can go to speakduo.com to meet new people from around the world, and practice your English on video calls. It's just a great way to become more confident with your speaking abilities in real time.
Right. Because there's a huge difference between knowing the grammar and actually deploying it in a live conversation. And that's exactly our mission today. We're focusing entirely on you, the advanced English learner.
Yeah, we're moving way past the basics today.
Exactly. We're taking 8 highly nuanced, native-level idioms and completely unpacking them. We want to show you exactly how they differ from simpler alternatives and how to use them to sound incredibly natural in high-level professional settings or, say, an IELTS speaking Part 2 exam.
Okay, so let's start with a scenario to anchor this. Picture this. You're in a crucial meeting, right? Sitting right across the table from your boss.
High stakes. Always stressful.
Super stressful. They're looking you dead in the eye, explaining this massive project deadline, but your brain has just completely checked out, like you are a million miles away.
Wondering what's for dinner, probably.
Yeah, or replaying some argument you had 3 years ago, and then suddenly the boss stops talking and expects an answer.
And that panic just instantly sets in.
We have all been there. And that perfectly introduces our first phrase, which is mind wandering. Now, I've always kind of thought this was just, a fancy way of saying daydreaming. Are they not just synonyms?
I mean, they are related, for sure. But the emotional context and how they work are actually entirely different. So daydreaming is usually intentional, right? And pleasant.
Like staring out a train window and picturing a beach vacation.
Exactly. It's this deliberate escape. But mind wandering is unintentional. It's this stealthy, problematic drift of your attention away from something you really should be focusing on.
Okay, wait. So if I think about this, like a computer is mind wandering basically when your brain is running background updates.
Oh, I like that.
The computer is technically on, the fan is whirring, but it's processing the wrong tab entirely.
That is a fantastic analogy. The cognitive machinery is running, but the focus is completely misdirected. And acknowledging that distinction is huge in a workplace.
So you wouldn't tell your boss you were daydreaming?
No, definitely not. If you say, sorry, my mind was wandering during the compliance briefing, could you repeat that deadline?
Mm-hmm.
You're taking ownership of the lapse. You're saying, my brain slipped gears, not I was happily ignoring you to think about the beach.
Right. It sounds way more professional, but sometimes the distraction isn't internal, sometimes it's external, and it just keeps gnawing at you until you hit a breaking point.
Which brings us to phrase number 2, being driven up the wall.
Up the wall. So how is that different from just being annoyed?
Well, annoyance is flat. It's a flat emotion. The barista gets your coffee wrong, or a website takes 10 seconds to load. You're annoyed.
Right. It's just a minor inconvenience.
Exactly. But being driven up the wall implies this escalating trapped feeling. Your patience hasn't just been tested. The tank is completely empty. The physical metaphor is the key here.
Because you're literally picturing someone trying to scale the walls to escape the room.
Yes. You are so agitated you have to escape. It's a visceral fight-or-flight reaction.
Okay, so if you were taking an IELTS speaking Part 2 exam and the prompt asks you to describe a stressful time, you wouldn't just say, the noise made me angry.
Way too basic. You would say, the constant noise from the construction next door drove me off the wall while I was trying to study.
That paints such a vivid picture for the examiner.
It really does. It shows you know how to escalate emotional stakes in English. Now, once you stop climbing the walls and you sit back down, you have to get your attention back right. You have to zero in on your goal.
And that's phrase number 3, zero in on. I hear this in corporate meetings constantly, but honestly, why not just say focus on?
Because focusing on is a static state. To zero in on implies action and intense precision. You can think of it like adjusting a camera lens.
Oh, right. Like when the lens is mechanically zooming in and out.
Exactly. You are actively cutting through surrounding noise or like a massive pile of irrelevant data. The lens adjusts until it finds that one single subject in perfect, sharp clarity.
Okay, that changes the tone completely. So if I'm talking strategy with a colleague, saying, let's focus on the problem, sounds a little passive.
A bit generic, yeah.
But if I say, we have a lot of feedback, but we need to zero in on the main supply chain issue before making a decision, that sounds much more authoritative.
It communicates a higher level analytical skill. You're telling them, I see all the messy variables, but I can pinpoint the one thing that matters.
Right. But, the tricky thing is that intense focus on your own work can sometimes blind you to all the weird social dynamics happening right next to you.
Oh, absolutely. The workplace is fundamentally a social hierarchy.
Totally. Once we manage our own attention, we have to deal with the people around us. And people are always playing these status games, trying to impress each other in ways that are sometimes, frankly, super irritating.
Which leads perfectly into our fourth phrase,
Mm.
the humble brag.
The classic humble brag. I feel like social media basically invented this concept, especially LinkedIn.
It definitely amplified it. And the psychology here is fascinating. We need to distinguish it from straight boasting. If you just boast, society tends to punish that. People don't like overt arrogance.
No, nobody likes to show off.
Right. But we also fiercely reward success. So ambitious people are in this bind. They need a backdoor route to show off their status without triggering everyone's defenses.
And that back door is the humble brag.
Exactly. It's a boast deliberately disguised as a complaint
Yeah.
or cloaked in fake modesty.
Give me an example of this in the wild. How does this sound?
Okay, imagine a colleague sighs loudly in the break room, rubbing their temples, and goes, I'm so exhausted from having to choose between 3 different CEO job offers.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I would immediately walk out of the room.
Right. It's insufferable.
But wait, let me push back on this for a second. Couldn't that just be genuine insecurity? Like, what if they really are losing sleep over a huge life choice and just need to vent?
That's a fair point, but it really comes down to the intent and the audience. Broadcasting that highly specific, luxurious problem to a room full of peers isn't about seeking advice.
It's about signaling market value.
Precisely. The complaint about being exhausted is just a Trojan horse. It's a deceptive vehicle used to sneak the 3 CEO offers into the conversation without looking like a jerk.
A Trojan horse. That makes so much sense. But okay, let's say you want to elevate your status the honest way. You don't want to humble brag. You want to use our 5th phrase to dazzle someone.
Yes. Dazzling is doing status elevation the right way. But we need to separate it from just impressing someone. Impressing someone just means you showed baseline competence. You did the job well.
You checked the boxes.
Right. But to dazzle someone involves a striking display of brilliance or skill or theatrical flair. It leaves the audience in a state of genuine awe.
It's blindingly good. So if I'm pitching to my boss, saying I made a good slideshow is just impressing them.
Barely.
But I would say I prepared a stunning multimedia presentation to dazzle the potential new investor during our closing pitch meeting.
Exactly. It sets a completely different expectation. You aren't just delivering information, you're delivering an experience.
And if you keep dazzling people, you navigate that hierarchy, and eventually you reach phrase number 6. You make it to the top of the heap.
The top of the heap.
It sounds a bit rougher, doesn't it? Like more aggressive than just saying someone is successful or in charge.
It's much more visceral. Top of the heap specifically implies a ruthless competitive hierarchy. A heap isn't a neat ladder. It's a chaotic pile of people, competitors, and obstacles that you've actively had to climb over.
It acknowledges the struggle,
Yeah.
which makes it perfect for an IELTS exam narrative.
Oh, definitely.
Like if they ask you to describe a successful person, you could say, after years of navigating corporate mergers, she finally reached the top of the heap in her department.
It packs a whole story of ambition and survival into just a few words. But of course, the reality of reaching the top of the heap is that once you're there, you become a target.
The pressure never stops. You have to defend your territory. Which transitions us to segment 3, proactive professionalism, defense and discovery.
And defense is where our 7th phrase comes in, to stave off.
To understand the weight of staving off, we have to contrast it with preventing. Because preventing is kind of passive, right?
It is. Preventing a problem is a one-time action. It's locking your front door long before a storm arrives and then going to sleep. But staving off is an active, sometimes desperate struggle.
Holding back something unpleasant that is constantly trying to happen to you. I actually read that historically a stave was a heavy wooden staff used in medieval combat.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So when you stave off something, you're literally picturing a medieval guard using a heavy pole to violently push back an incoming threat.
That is a great origin image. But even in a modern sense, think about a boat. Preventing a leak is patching a hole before you leave the dock. Staving off sinking is actively bailing water out of the boat with a bucket while you're in the middle of a storm.
It requires continuous effort.
Exactly. So in the workplace, you might say, I take short walks during peak work weeks to stave off burnout.
Burnout is the water pouring into the boat, and the walks are the bucket bailing it out. I love that. Okay, our final phrase shifts from defense to offense. Active discovery. The phrase is crack open.
Right. Now, you can literally crack open an egg, breaking a physical shell.
Oh.
But figuratively, we use it to mean diving deeply into a complex topic or examining dense info for the first time.
You're comparing the difficulty of the information to a hard outer shell.
Yes, you have to aggressively break through it to get the valuable insights hidden inside. So saying, let's read the reports sounds like a chore.
Super boring. But saying, let's crack open these old Q3 financial journals to see where the budget went wrong frames it as an investigation.
It acknowledges the resistance of the material, but initiates a proactive uncovering of truths.
Well, speaking of uncovering truths, it is that time. It's time for the Superbly Said quiz. We're going to test your ear for these advanced nuances.
Let's see if you can actively apply the emotional differences we just broke down.
Here's how it works. For each of the 8 questions, I'll read option A, option B, and option C. You're looking for the correct figurative use of the target phrase. I will remind you to pause the audio if you need to think, and then we'll reveal the answer immediately.
And we'll give a quick reminder of why that context is the perfect fit.
Well, let's do it. Question 1. Which sentence uses the idiomatic phrase up the wall correctly based on context? Option A. The professional interior designer was instructed to hang the new art collection up the wall in the main lobby. Option B. The deeply frustrated young retail clerk aggressively managed to completely drop a white line. Option C. Having to listen to the neighbor's loud music until 3 a.m. on a Tuesday night is enough to drive anyone up the wall. We are looking for up the wall. Feel free to pause the audio here if you need to think about the answer.
And the correct answer is option C. Having to listen to the neighbor's loud music until 3 a.m. is enough to drive anyone up the wall. Option A is literal hanging art, and option B is just complete nonsense. But C, it captures that trapped, escalating frustration we discussed with the IELTS construction noise example.
Yeah, option B was literally just random words. Okay, moving to question 2, focusing on humble brag. Select the context where the term humble brag is most appropriately used figuratively. Option A, she posted on LinkedIn that she was so exhausted from having to choose between 3 different CEO job offers, which is a classic humble brag. Option B, the professional social media marketing assistant was instructed to humble brag about the company's annual sales growth. Option C, the incredibly clumsy warehouse inventory clerk accidentally managed to quickly buy some large systems. We're looking for humble brag. Go ahead and hit pause if you need a second to decide.
The correct answer is option A. Posting about being exhausted by multiple CEO job offers. It's the textbook Trojan horse we talked about. A complaint hiding a massive boast about status. Option B doesn't work because the company wouldn't instruct an employee to actively humble brag as an official strategy. It's a covert psychological behavior.
Right, it's not a corporate directive. Question 3 is all about stave off. In which situation does someone accurately utilize the advanced phrase stave off contextually? Option A. The professional medieval fortress defense guard was instructed to stave off the wooden planks for the main gate. Option B. Drinking plenty of water and getting enough sleep are the best ways to stave off the onset of a seasonal cold during peak work weeks. Option C. The completely terrified young wilderness traveler unexpectedly noticed an exceptionally massive, heavy tool chest. Option C is wild. Anyway, we're looking for stave off. Feel free to pause the deep dive right here to lock in your answer.
The answer is option B. Drinking water and sleeping to stave off a cold. Just like our example of taking walks to stave off burnout, it shows active resistance against something unpleasant. Option A tries to trick you with the medieval reference, but you don't stave off the physical planks.
I really tried to lay a trap there. All right, question 4. Which response best demonstrates the advanced phrase, zero in on, figuratively? Option A. After reviewing all the project data, we decided to zero in on the supply chain inefficiencies as the primary cause of our delays. Option B. The professional long-range weapon sniper was instructed to zero in on the target during the tactical simulation. Option C. The incredibly clumsy warehouse inventory clerk accidentally managed to quickly catch that white balance. Targeting zero in on. Pause the audio here if you need a little more time.
The answer is option A. reviewing data and deciding to zero in on supply chain inefficiencies. This mirrors our workplace example with the camera lens actively cutting through noise to focus sharply on one target. Option B is incorrect because a sniper aiming is the literal physical origin of the phrase.
Halfway there. Question 5. Let's test top of the heap. How would a professional accurately use the phrase top of the heap contextually? Option A. The professional waste management recycling specialist was instructed to place the organic waste at the top of the heap. Option B. The completely confused amateur theater group unexpectedly decided to proudly paint a clean frame. Option C. After successfully navigating 4 corporate mergers, she has finally secured her place at the top of the heap in the executive leadership team. We want top of the heap. Pause the show here if you're still weighing the options.
The answer is option C. Securing her place at the top of the heap in the executive leadership team. Matches our IELTS example, perfectly climbing that chaotic competitive hierarchy. Option A is, again, completely literal.
Right.
Physical heap of traps.
Sneaky literal options. On to question 6. Which scenario perfectly illustrates the meaning of the phrase dazzle someone contextually? Option A. The professional industrial laser safety officer was instructed to never dazzle someone with the high-powered light beam. Option B. I prepared a stunning multimedia presentation to dazzle someone, specifically the potential new investor, during our closing pitch meeting. Option C. The incredibly clumsy hotel maintenance worker accidentally managed to completely drop that red tray. Looking for dazzle someone. Take a moment to pause the audio if you need to.
The correct choice is option B. Preparing a stunning multimedia presentation to dazzle the potential new investor, it carries that theatrical flair and intent to leave the audience in awe. Option A uses the literal meaning of blinding someone's eyes with a light.
Almost done. Question 7. Which sentence accurately utilizes the advanced phrase mind-wandering contextually? Option A. During the lengthy, monotonous legal compliance briefing, I caught my mind wandering towards my weekend plans instead of listening to the speaker. Option B. The professional wilderness survival guide was instructed to mind-wandering the group safely back to the campsite. Option C. The deeply confused young kitchen assistant accidentally managed to quickly slice a fresh piece of wandering. Slice a fresh piece of wandering? I don't even know what that means. We're looking for mind-wandering. Pause the audio here to decide.
The answer is option A. Catching your mind wandering towards weekend plans during a briefing. It perfectly captures that unintentional drift of attention away from an obligation, like processing the wrong tab. Options B and C just break the rules of English grammar.
All right, the final challenge. Question 8. Which of the following statements correctly uses crack open figuratively? Option A. The professional almond harvesting farm technician was instructed to crack open the shells before the shipping process. Option B. The deeply confused young retail clerk aggressively managed to completely crack open a white line. Option C. We decided to crack open the historical project files to figure out why the original design was abandoned. The final phrase is crack open. Hit pause one last time if you need to think about the answer.
The final correct answer is option C. Deciding to crack open the historical project files, this matches our example of diving into complex information to aggressively uncover insights. Option A is literally cracking open a physical almond shell.
And that concludes the quiz. Honestly, if you nailed most of those, you are well on your way to mastering these expressions.
Absolutely. And I want to leave you with an incredibly important thought today. Building an advanced vocabulary isn't just about, sounding smart to your boss or getting a high exam score.
Right, it goes deeper than that.
It actually changes the way you perceive the world. When you truly understand the psychological difference between merely preventing a problem and actively staving it off, you fundamentally change your relationship to the challenges you face.
That makes total sense.
The words we use map our reality. Language literally shapes thought.
That is a fascinating way to look at it. The vocabulary you possess dictates the boundaries of how you experience your own life. I love that. Well, I want to challenge you to take just one of these phrases we cracked open today and test it out in your next conversation. Pay attention to how it feels to use it. Thank you so much for practicing your advanced English with Superbly Said, and we will catch you on the next deep dive.